Welcome to Game Day Wrap-Up, Week 5 edition. We had, I guess, close quarters with all of our 12 games, so we're wrapping it all up here after the fact. Along with Mike St. Green, I'm Cameron Irvine. Another week, Mike, where half the games were decided by one score. We've seen that pretty much all season long.
Yeah, this is just let you know how tough and tight the competition here is here in the SFL. All these teams are close in, talent, they're close in coaching ability, and week 5 have proved that once again.
And, week 5 will be forever remembered as the week that the San Diego Mavericks finally won a game. They snapped their 16-game losing streak dating back to last season when they were an expansion franchise, and they got it done against a playoff team from last season. That would be Arizona, the unfortunate Arizona Scorpions, who fall in that one 26-19. Arizona comes up short, and San Diego really led wire to wire in this one. Had to hold on for dear life late. Arizona's now lost 3 in a row, all by one score. So they're one of those teams that are way better than their 2-3 record says. But hey, they did it, Mike. San Diego 1-4. They're off the schneid, and they can breathe. The first one's always the hardest, especially after losing all those in a row.
Yeah, hey, celebrate, go crazy, pop bottles, whatever you guys want to do. Yeah, it's just one game, but in the whole scope of things. But this is your first win in franchise history, so you guys should basically celebrate just like you just won the championship. And Cam, we were on upset alert very early in this game just because of the start that San Diego, got off to. Jalen Wells was having a monster first half. Arizona just couldn't seem to get anything going, but a lot of that was because of the defense that San Diego, came in and played in this game that Arizona could never get going. And before you know it, they were behind the 8 ball and really, really desperate on the comeback trail. San Diego held them off. Liam Hammer with a big touchdown late in this game to, make it a 2-score game. And, hey, like I said, pop bottles, celebrate. It's a big win in franchise history.
Yeah, the DJ Moses struggles continue. Jalen Wells was able to get going a little bit in the fourth quarter. That kept that clock moving, and they needed every second to move to hold off the Arizona Scorpions. Congratulations, you're 1-4, and now the rest of your division is above 500.
Right.
So welcome to the new Pacific division, San Diego. But good for them. The Mavericks able to kind of kick the tires off and say, hey, at least you can't say we've never won a game anymore. So congratulations to San Diego. Speaking of the Pacific, Los Angeles erupts against Vancouver. This game was wire to wire at the half, 24-21, I believe, Mike. And Los Angeles romps in the second half. And what was so surprising, Mike, is in the first half, Robert Johnson was unbelievable, right? And, he almost had 200 yards all by himself in just one half. And then in the second half, he was exhausted. He really didn't do all that much. And yet L.A. pulled away. That I think was the biggest surprise of that game, because we were going into the halftime break saying, but if Robert Johnson doesn't have much left, how are they gonna keep up with this Vancouver team? And it was the LA defense that shut it down and was able to pull away. 4-1 LA, now ahead of everybody in the Pacific Division. Probably the most shocking division leader right now, just because of all they've been through.
Yeah, this game came in a battle for the Pacific, first place, and most of us kind of figured it would be Vancouver, and it pretty much started out that way. Kendra Hall with a big touchdown catch early in this game, and I'm sorry, and Dan Daly with a big touchdown catch. So it looked, like typical Vancouver. They jumped out early. Tom Pepper throwing the ball all over the place, but As you mentioned, Robert Johnson was just a beast in this first half. He pretty much kept LA in this game and kept Vancouver's offense off the field. Um, and but not only just keeping him off the field, he was being extremely productive. And LA hung with him in the first half, as you mentioned, 27-21 going in at the half. And but we thought we were going to see more of that. But the Los Angeles defense stepped up and they controlled the ball enough in the second half, and before you know it, they were just running away with this ball game.
Yeah, LA. They kind of feel like a team, Mike, that they just got something to prove. You know, the season did not start the way they wanted it. They've had coaching changes. They've had, unrest with, with staff and personnel, and just outside the SFL. Lives turned upside down. All sorts of stuff going on with that team. And it's like they're out to prove a point. Like, why are you doubting us? We were a playoff team last year, and we're not going anywhere. And it's interesting, Mike, last year around this time, we also had a battle for the Pacific, Vancouver at Los Angeles. And Los Angeles won that game, and everyone was like, oh, L.A., right? But then right about this time last year, that's when L.A. started to open the door up for a Vancouver to kind of take over. And then in week 12, we saw Vancouver winning that game. They end up taking the division. This season, they don't play in week 12. That goes to Portland playing Vancouver. But it almost feels very similar in that way, where it was kind of like, we expected Vancouver to go in there and doubted L.A., and they took care of business.
Yeah, it feels a little bit the same, but it also feels different because I feel like the switch has happened in reverse, but even though they were struggling a little bit, I guess you could say they were, but they were still winning ball games. But I think they made the switch at the right time this season, and it doesn't feel like that they're going to go into this, kind of a funk that they went into late last season, even though they kind of backed into the playoffs. So I think they're going to build on what they have going on right now. I think they've come together as an organization. I think this has kind of, bonded them together, and I think they are working together behind the scenes, and I think they are out to prove everybody that, hey, we're not going to let whatever internal or external things, come between us and this team. And they're proving it right now on the field.
They made the switch with negative momentum instead of last year when they had to make a switch when they had positive momentum. That's what we're talking about here. So the Pacific is now one of the best divisions in the SFL. The Pacific had a great weekend this week. Portland also took care of Denver, the first time that the Fleet have beaten the Nightwings in their first visit to Denver, and Jacob Bouvette's return to Richard L. Snowden Memorial. So Portland is now 3-2. They are right alongside with Vancouver at 3-2, and their only matchup all season, as mentioned, is in week 12. So that's going to be interesting. And then LA is there at 4-1. Well, no more winless teams. San Diego got the win. Jacksonville pulled out a nail-biter against St. Louis 27-24, but we still have two unbeaten teams left, and they both belong in the North Division. How strange is that? Right? I mean, that's almost like impossible, right? But Baltimore and Queen City, a little fun fact for SFL historians out there, Queen City was the first franchise that Baltimore owner Tim Johnston ever played back in season 3. And they won that game on a 50-yard field goal by a non-contract. I mean, it was kind of like, oh my God, I can't believe they did that kind of thing. So those two have a very long, rich history and tradition, 5 championships between them, and they're unbeaten, and they flattened their opponents. Vegas shut out. You probably see a shutout maybe once or twice a year in the SFL schedule. 34-0. Baltimore demolishes them in the rain of Hurricane Henri. And then Queen City, I know the score doesn't show it, 20-7, but just flattened Houston. They controlled the game. They basically did what Mexico City's been doing, but Mexico City, for whatever reason, decided not to do against Florida. So Queen City and Baltimore are 5-0. they've done it in completely different ways, Mike.
Yeah, these teams are, similar in record, but, very dissimilar in the way they're getting things done. Baltimore high flying, big offense. Jack Whitmore, is going to put up 400 yards plus every week, it seems like, as he did again today, 418 yards, a couple of touchdowns. Ivory Irving, a huge game today, 16 catches, 239 yards, a couple of touchdowns. So, they do it that way. And then you say, well, what are they just outscoring people? Are they going, just shootouts with everybody? No, they're dominating teams. They came into today leading the league in point differential with 92. And guess what? They shut these teams out, scored 34 points, and they increased that by 34 points. So, this team's point differential is over 100 points, Cam, through 5 games. That defense was dynamic today. Sauron Yates was credited with 4.5 sacks. Giovanni Bolt with 3 interceptions, and Ben Stackenpaper even added an interception in the end zone to stop a Las Vegas drive. Shark Tarkenton 2 for 2. They just a totally complete team. Even Bolt, he didn't do anything special on special teams today, but we know he's more than capable of returning a kick or a punt at any given time. So you talk about offense, complete defense. Special teams with Tarkenton kicking and Bolt in the return game. I mean, this team is just amazing right now, and they are very deserving of the 5-0 record. And then, as you mentioned, Queen City, they're doing it in a different way. Get jet zero the ball and get out of the way. Basically, let this guy pound you for 150.
Hammers.
200 yards, whatever he's going to do, and Caswell's going to make a play here or there, getting the ball to Deezer Powell, and the tight end Matthews Jr. It's just a different way, but they're very solid, Cam, in what they're doing. The defense steps up and making plays. They don't have Jeff Duffy anymore, so you don't have that big sack guy in the middle of the defensive line. But I mean, they're just steady Eddie. They come in with a great game plan every game and really stop the other teams from doing what they want to do and get comfortable. And they did that to Houston today.
Yeah, I think probably one of the craziest stats this season is, like you said, Baltimore is averaging beating opponents by 20-plus points through the first 5 weeks. LA's only loss is to Baltimore by 47. You're a 4-1 team, and your one loss is a 47-point drumming. And, we all know the story, right? But still, they haven't lost by 47 anybody else, or haven't even come close, right? So Baltimore just they're in another gear right now, and it's full speed ahead for them. I think London, Mike. I think you guys probably take it upon yourself. We're the only team that stands in their way twice.
Yeah,
we got to do something. We got to do something about this.
Well, Cam, we're probably going to need to do something about it by that time. As far as if London wants to make the playoffs or make some type of playoff run, it's going to be a tough task for anybody that has to play them. But we have to do it twice, and I think we have the coaching staff and personnel that could give them a run for their money. But that's a few weeks down the line. We have a Portland team. And the Ezekiel Love to look forward to playing next week. So I'm pretty sure that's going to be on front and center in the London coaching staff mind all week long.
That's going to be a great game. Pair of 3-2 teams going at it. Atlanta beat London 34-24 earlier this week. So from the unbeaten teams to some teams that got off to some slow starts this season, but we want to put the focus on Fort Worth. They mucked it up today, but they took care of business, or Sunday rather, against Charleston, 16-13. Mike, that is the 5th game in a row that Fort Worth has had a game decided by 8 points or less, which I don't know if that's an SFL record or not. That is a lot of games in a row to have decided by 8 points or less. They lost the first 3. They have now won the last 2, and that South is tightening up with Mexico City's loss to Florida.
Yeah, Cam, I don't know if it's a record as well, but this is what we come to expect from Fort Worth. They're gonna keep it close to the vest. They're gonna pound the ball with Jason Williams. If they can get a big play from Stephen Hacker here or there, that they're more than happy with that. They'll mix in Robert Garrett Jr. Coming out of the tight end spot every now and again, but solid defense, pound the ball, and hopefully not to make any mistakes with Cam Curtis, and they hope to come up with the W, and that's what we've been seeing more of the past. They did it the past 2 weeks and won. They did a lot of that in week 3 against London. Just came up short. Probably a Taco Sicario field goal from winning that game as well. But this is the Fort Worth we kind of expected to see when the season started, and now they're starting to round into the form that they hope to have the rest of the way.
They probably have one of, if not the most underrated secondaries in the league. We don't talk about them a lot, but Aiden Davis is a true shutdown corner. Adam Leach is terrific. They have a lot of pieces there, and I just don't think they get the clout because it's a very team effort kind of thing. It just doesn't show up in the box score, but it's tough to move the ball on these guys.
Yeah, you add in Aiden Davis. He's probably one of the best corners in the league. You don't hear his name because no one throws the ball at him, and then you add in a linebacking core, Eric Vincent and E.K. Vincent and Brian Harrell. It's just a solid team defensively. They did add Jeff Duffy from Queen City to that line. We hadn't heard a lot from Jeff, but it's just a balanced defense over there. No big accolades for anybody, but they're solid, make plays, and like I said, that's the way they want to play it. They want to keep you close, pound you out, and come up with the victory at the end of the fourth quarter.
David Horrell, former number 1 pick. I got you, Dave. I got you, Dave.
Oh,
don't let Mike take it away from you.
It's so many Horrells, Cam.
Well, that's true. That is definitely fair to say. We love the Horrells here in the SFL. So that's a wrap. A very busy week 5, but those are the main headlines if you missed any of the action. We turn now to game balls. We're going to do 3 each for week 5, and I wait hoping that Mike has gone in a different direction than me. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I'm going to take this one because I think you may take this one.
Okay.
And this is going to be my first game ball for he's a player, but not for his performance on the field. Optimus Klein gets my game ball for the first win in San Diego history. Hey, man, you deserve it, and I hope you guys enjoy it. Go celebrate.
Fair enough. Yeah, I had him on my plate as well, but, that's all right. Maybe I can snag one of yours here. So since you took an obvious for Optimus Klein and the rest of that San Diego locker room and staff, I'm going to go Jack Napier for 4 interceptions against London, including a pick 6. What was remarkable about Napier's day was he got an interception down the sideline, took it all the way, and then got tackled about the 3-yard line and missed a chance at a pick 6. And then the very next possession got an interception on the same play and took it for a pick 6 and was able to sort of redeem himself. But anytime you're getting 3+ picks in a game, you're just having, a ridiculous afternoon. And Jack Napier had a ridiculous afternoon for that defense in his return to Atlanta. So he gets my first game ball.
Yeah, it's well deserved. If not for Napier and that Atlanta defense, jumping out ahead, 21 points off turnovers early, and one of them, including the pick 6, set Atlanta up well in that game. And the Atlanta offense really didn't perform, extremely well in that game. So, yeah, if it wasn't for the defense setting the tone and keeping Atlanta in that game and playing solid defense in the second half, they could have definitely been a different result in that ball game.
All right. What you got next?
Second game ball, Cam, is going to be my first offensive player that I've given a game ball to all season. It's going to be Robert Johnson with his huge performance against Vancouver. As we mentioned, a monster first half, a bunch of huge runs and big stiff arms and anything that you could think of. Robert Johnson accomplished in the first half, and a lot of solid runs in the second half as well. 256 yards. 2 touchdowns on the ground, 1 through the air. So, 3 touchdowns total. Robert Johnson gets my game ball.
Yeah, that's a good one. Robert Johnson, he's just dangerous. He's just a dangerous human being out there. He scares me, and I'm not even on the field. He is a terrifying person, and LA's just a different team when he's playing like that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they totally. You want to talk about taking pressure off of a passing offense, and then you combine Jack Flash, a tight end that can block out there with him, and he's crazy. I can't wait to see what he does next week.
Yeah.
All right. Next game ball is going to go to Andrew Francis, because Andrew Francis has been in this league for 4.5 years. Can you imagine Mike being in this league for 4.5 years and never getting a touchdown? And that was Andrew Francis.
Me personally, no, not my player.
Okay. All right. I think you got career highs through 5 weeks, right? I think you've probably eclipsed them at this point, right?
Well, yeah, we're getting close in touchdowns, but we're getting close. I'll say that.
Check the leaderboards, but yeah, Andrew Francis, 9 seasons in the SFL without an interception return for a touchdown, and he got his first. And it was really kind of a game-changing play because Mexico City had driven all. They took half the quarter away, and we were just kind of sitting here going, how do you stop this team? What do you do with this team? They are so talented. And I think on that drive, Mike, 5 different players had touched the ball in the passing game. They were moving it all around, all over the field, and it was like, this is impossible. And then Mexico City threw some slants right at the goal line, and Francis took that ball away. And it was almost like they just popped the balloon. Yeah. And after that, Mexico City was like, what do we do? Just any crazy thought that comes into our head, and they just didn't look the same at all.
Yeah.
So Francis really rattled them. 101-yard interception return touchdown. His first of his career, gets my game ball.
Yeah, Cam, that was a huge play in this game. As you mentioned, pretty much turned the game around. In Mexico City, were not the same the rest of that game. And the Florida defense, after that, really stepped up, played well. I think forced 5 interceptions in that game. But like I said, spearheaded by the touchdown by Andrew Francis, and well-deserving of a game ball for his first career touchdown.
And an honorable mention to Jermaine Menefield from Mexico City, who also got a pick 6 in his first career interception. So congrats to the rookie.
Yeah.
Where are you going last, Mike?
I think I'm going to go back to the defensive side of the ball, Cam. I was trying to, decide from one of 3 teammates from the same team that had huge games today. And one guy we hadn't talked about a whole lot this season, even though he's leading the league in sacks, Sauron Yates. I credited him with 5 sacks today. They officially, I think, said 4.5, but Sauron Yates had a huge game today, made a huge difference in setting the tone for that defense and keeping the rookie quarterback Joseph Green off balance the entire game. And huge game today. A shutout performance from the Baltimore defense. So my third game ball for the week.
Yeah, I hate to double up here, but it's hard not to give him credit where credit is due. Ivory Irvin is the best receiver in this league. He is. Sorry, Mike. I'm sure you're stewing inside, but you can't stop him. He's so when you look at him on the field, he is so long. You know what I mean? He's like just kind of a gangly guy, but he is tough. And Merrick Itera is a really good corner. And it wasn't like Ivory Irvin. We have seen Baltimore game after Baltimore game where they got receivers just running all over the field wide open.
Yeah.
We didn't really see that a lot today, but we did see Ivory Irvin in single coverage win jump balls, in double coverage, in triple coverage, catch stuff over the middle, on corner routes, out routes, turning up field. He just does everything. He was so lethal. What did he end up with? 17 catches?
16 catches. 239 yards. It was incredible.
On like 18 targets. I mean, he was just totally unstoppable today. And he was to the offense what Sauron Yates was to the defense today for Baltimore. And another honorable mention to Igor Mandava. You know, he's one of those
Yeah.
receivers
Yeah.
who is elite. They only got 2-star receivers on that team,
Mm-hmm.
and yet Eagle is elite. And he had such a good game today. It's too bad that they couldn't come away with a win. Otherwise, he probably would have gotten it from me. But he had a tremendous day too. We got some great receivers, including Mike, in this league. But Irvin was untouchable today.
Yeah, and you know, yeah, there's no doubt, Cam, and you know the incredible thing about what Irving does week in and week out, or even in the Baltimore offense in general. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. We know what you're going to do. I think we know what you're going to do, but you single out Irving in particular. Like as you mentioned, America Terra, he made catches over Max Jackson, and that's an experienced secondary over there. And but this guy continues to make plays. He can't be stopped. And just an amazing physical performance, as you mentioned. He wasn't just running wide open. I mean, they had a plan in place to try to stop this guy, but he was making incredible catches over some very good and experienced defensive backs over there in Las Vegas.
I mean, most people, unless they watch the game back, won't realize this, but it was 20-0 with about 7:30 to go in the third quarter, and Vegas was inside the 10-yard line about to score. I mean, that was about to be a 2-touchdown game, and Vegas was holding their own, and they were right there in it. And then, Joseph Green threw a pick. Tough day for Green, man. He did not like the rain. He did not like the weather and the hostile crowd, and there was a lot of overthrows, and that was probably the strangest performance of the week. Wouldn't you say, Mike? Just because of all the overthrows, I mean, it wasn't. They just weren't connecting at all.
Yeah, I don't know if it was pressure from the defensive line. I don't know if it was the great secondary that Baltimore have with Bolt and Stacking Paper and a couple other players over there that I'm probably failing to mention right now. But Joseph Green did not have a great day. Of course, as you mentioned, the weather that probably played a part in it. But whatever the case, he struggled mightily, even on a couple of little passes out to the running back. He was selling those over the guy's head. So let's get that guy back in the dome or some warm weather next week.
Yeah, and they've got Denver next week. It should be pretty warm. We haven't gotten to cold season yet, but that Denver game, big game for both teams. You don't know. I don't know that we've ever had a Vice Wars where both teams were under 500. So that's a huge game for both those guys, and in that division where nobody's over 500 either. Vegas is just one game back of the division despite a 1-4 start. So that is still a very important game. You can see that next Friday on Next Level Sports at 5 Eastern. For Mike, I'm Cam. This has been SFL Game Day Wrap Up for Week 5. We're out of here, and we'll see you next weekend.